What's up, peeps? Might need a microphone, right? I'm gonna make sure that we're all good to go. And we'll do some quick shout outs and all that good stuff. Who I got in here? I see we live right now on Twitch, YouTube, and Twitter. BT Dubs. And so, by the way, if you have not yet, make sure you subscribe to my Twitch account if you're on YouTube, and that's you can find me at Niko L Casa. It's pretty simple. As you can see, I'm not all that original. But for those of you who have trouble with getting notifications, that Twitch is way better about sending out notifications, I've noticed, than YouTube is. So take advantage of that. You can follow my Twitch. I will put the link in the description. But you can just go to twitch.com and twitch.com/Niko LEL Casa. We'll do some shout outs real quick here on YouTube before we get started. I see y'all gotta forgive me, I don't know where my glasses are. I think my cats hit them. I'm not even joking. My cats do silly stuff like that when I'm getting on their nerves and not paying attention to them. Rashad Gatson, Ruben Massagua, Jordan Deck, David Moshella, Allison Irwin, aloha to you too. Marcus Holbert, was watching Mike F, then Niko popped up, not even a decision. Oh. I'm not I appreciate it. Sophia, what's going on? Triana be fine. Calling me notified. All right. Dingo Amy baby. Sonia. Niko in the house. Absolutely right. By the way, for please keep in mind that Assange is a Zionist asset. Really? Really, bruh? Really, bruh? Really? Man, that dude is the biggest. I mean, usually if you're a Zionist asset, you don't end up like in solitary confinement for like 5 or 6 years of your life. And you definitely, you would put the Zionist puppet, and well, I guess Trump or Hillary could be considered a Zionist puppet. That's a different discussion for a different day. But really, bruh, come on. All right. For those of you who have not been getting notifications, I just checked, maybe 2 days ago. And apparently, a lot of you don't have the notification bell turned on. According to at least what YouTube is telling me, only 20% of my subscribers actually have the bell notification turned on. Now, of course, not everybody's going to want all the notifications, but a lot of you all regularly tell me that you don't get the notifications, which leads me to believe that a lot of people want the notifications turned on. So if you have not, make sure that you have turned that notification bell on if you're on YouTube. It's the best way to make sure you get the notifications there, outside of constantly liking videos and also commenting on the videos as well. It's a good way to make sure you get everything. Also, make sure you select all notifications when you do hit that notification bell. Once again, obviously YouTube's going to do what it wants to do. Kyle just reported 2 days ago or yesterday, I think it was. He reported something that I actually reported a while ago. Remember, I told y'all YouTube was messing with independent journalists, and that a YouTube employee told me this. A YouTube employee told me that they were doing it. And David Pacman, as much as I don't like him, he did do some digging himself as well. And he figured out the same thing that I figured out. I literally did a video on this last month where I said they're taking our views and our monetization and they're giving it to the mainstream because they can't beat us in an open market because we beat the trash. I mean, we beat them every time. Kyle and Jimmy by themselves can like collaboratively get more views than in 3 or 4 videos between them than the mainstream will get in views all day. So that's why. Thanks for the super chat, Vital4644 or Vital. I know this ain't Mexican news, but I have to let you all know that American banks are reporting fake financial news to crash the Mexican economy. When you say that, do you mean that they're like reporting what? Like fake financial news in what sense? Because our economy is about to crash. Deutsche just, they had to fire like 10,000 employees. They were trying to paint it as if it was remnants of the 2008 crash, but nobody believes that. If you've seen where we're at right now, look at the patterns, it's about that time. All right, give it about one more minute. We'll give about one more minute and we'll go ahead and get started. Active anti-ICE protests in Chicago. Yeah, I saw that. My homeboy Patrick from the Daily Ember on Twitter is actually live streaming that protest right now. Y'all know I love my coffee. I also love my water. Gotta stay hydrated if you're gonna drink a bunch of caffeine all day. All right. It looks like we can go ahead and get started. Yeah, BuzzFeed is a propaganda buffet. All right, good stuff. Make sure y'all like this video. Make sure you share this video if you have not. And we'll go ahead and get started. So, what is going on, everybody? Thank you all so much for tuning into this live stream segment of Mikasa Sukasa, and I am, of course, as always, your humble host, Niko House. Just want to make a special announcement once again before we continue. If you're on YouTube, make sure that you have the notification bell turned on. Make sure that you have it turned on. I just looked at my statistics, that the new statistics that YouTube has given us to see what percentage of our subscribers have the notification bell turned on, and it said that only 20% of our subscribers here at the MCSC network have that turned on. So you want to make sure you have that notification bell turned on. You want to make sure that it says you hit all notifications. Otherwise, you'll only get part of like bits and pieces of notifications. You want to make sure you have all notifications turned on. Secondly, a lot of you all have them turned on, but don't allow notifications to your phone from YouTube. If you all know that you have it set that way, but you have the notification bell turned on, but don't allow notifications, and therefore you're not going to be able to get the notifications if you don't have that turned on in your settings, your phone settings. So, hold up. It says here. Okay, are we still live? Okay, we're back. Just want to make sure we're good. All right, good stuff. So, today we're gonna have we got a pretty long show, and we have a lot of stuff to cover, and I want to get through it as quickly, but with as much detail as we can get. And one thing that I wanted to discuss today, because it's been an issue, it's been a topic that's pretty much been dominating the headlines over the last 4 or 5 days, is the topic of immigration. I feel like everybody knows where I stand personally on immigration, and we'll go into it a little bit. I'll go into it with a little bit more detail after I show you this video. But one thing that I noticed during the debates, and even with the conversations after the debates, conversations not only on the left but on the right as well, the conversation has really become centered around these detention centers, aka concentration camps, and it's really just become solely focused on that. And it's important to address this issue for the same reason that it's important to address the private prison issue, right? For the same reason that it's important to address any issue where it seems like people are making profit off of the incarceration of human bodies. But we need to address the issue then. And when I say we need to address it, it means address it comprehensively. And very few people have been able to do this, right? They either get hyper-focused on one side of the issue, whereas keep all the immigrants out, or they get hyper-focused on the other side of the issue, which is abolish ICE, which I'm 100% for, by the way. It's a Gestapo operation. But also, these kids are in the cage. These people are in the cages. They get hyper-focused on those two things. But nobody really here is talking about solutions or addressing the issue in its entirety. Well, luckily for us, Tulsi Gabbard is here to save the day once again, because she actually knocked this answer out of the park in a recent trip to the Homestead Detention Center here in Miami. Let's take a look at that video real quick.
There's a short-term crisis that we need to deal with, that action must be taken to bring these kids together with their families. There's a long-term situation that we need to solve, both with comprehensive immigration reform, but also with recognizing the repercussions of policies and interventions in the past that have driven people to the point where they are willing to put their lives on the line in order to escape their own homes, and see what we can do now to help people where they are so that they're not forced with this single choice of walking for thousands of miles.
Do you have a comment?
Oh man, I really couldn't have asked for a better answer. As most of you all know, Tulsi has been calling for comprehensive immigration reform for quite some time now. Obviously a clear path to citizenship, but not only that, but saying, hey, are we going to talk about the foreign policy aspect of this, right? To be clear, most people, right, don't want to leave their home where generations of their family grew up. Most people don't want to leave the place where the language that is spoken is a language that they are most comfortable with, right? Most people don't want to leave generations of culture. Most people don't want to leave their networks that their families have built, once again, not over the course of maybe that person's lifetime, but a generational network that they may have. Most people don't want to leave maybe the job that they have had there, the degree that will immediately be rendered useless the moment they step foot in the United States and try to get a job, because we're pretty exclusionary when it comes to stuff like that. Most people don't want to leave their extended family behind, their family friends behind. So then, understanding this, because this is a basic human concept, understanding this, the next question would be, well, why do people choose to do so? Say, well, it's about the economy. And that may be partially true, right? That may be partially true. But then you have to ask, well, is it a coincidence that Venezuela's economy went to trash? We meddle in their economy. Brazil's economy is trash. We meddle in their economy. Mexico's economy is trash. We meddle in their economy. Honduras's economy is trash. We meddle in their economy. El Salvador, we meddle in their economy. I mean, the list really does go on. And once again, there's a reason that the saying goes, sanctions are an act of war. Because it is a form of warfare. Sanctions are no different than you as your fleet of naval ships in the 1600s and 1700s blocking off merchant ships, supply ships to get that money or those supplies to the people who need them for everyday use. That's no different. That's what a sanction basically is. And that is indeed an act of war, and therefore they would still be a political refugee. People who are coming here most times are political refugees in one form or another, and I would even go as far as saying some don't even realize they're political refugees because the situations have grown so complex, right? The people that we've paid off, cartels that we've bolstered, regimes that we've propped up, all they know is my life sucks here and I have to go the only place that I know I feel safe, not because they think that America's so much better. It's because, well, where's the only place safe from America? I would imagine most foreigners probably think it's America. And for the most part, that is true. So what Tulsi said is absolutely true. And then on top of that, she's once again one of the only ones who link foreign policy to people feeling the need to leave their home. And also talking about the fact that these aren't death camps. Okay, so let me be clear about that. But they're absolutely concentration camps. I saw it for myself. Why? Even if you wanted to call it a detention center, these are kids who are separated from their families based off of semantics. I remember one description that one of the volunteers told me in the campaign was that basically one of these little girls called out to their aunt. The mother had died in I want to say it was Mexico. The little girl called out to her aunt. She said "tía," which means aunt in Spanish. ICE heard her say that. That's not your parent. You're an unaccompanied minor. You have to go here now. So they're separating family members based off of semantics. Say if your older brother is 30, right? And he has a 6-year-old, 7-year-old sister with him. If that little girl is with ICE or potentially about to get captured by ICE, and that little girl says, "Hermano," oh, that's not your parent? You're separated now. He's an adult. He has to go here. You are an unaccompanied minor now. Now, of course, these semantics come with a price tag, as always, because no different than the private prison industry, no different than the prison industrial complex. These are private detention centers / concentration camps. Like I said in the previous video, in an interview with one of the volunteers, we learned that these camps, the one that we went to specifically with Tulsi, $750 to $775 a day per kid to live in a tent. And so the people who make the most profit off of these detention centers, do you think that they have no influence on the policies being passed to perpetuate the cyclical problem of immigration, this never-ending game of cat and mouse that we are seeing right now in front of us? You think they have no influence? Well, I got some bad news for you. The people who sit on the boards of a lot of these detention centers are former members of the government, and obviously CEOs as well. And if you want to talk about a concentration camp, why is it that all of these detention centers, why is it that every interaction that we've seen with ICE is with a brown skinned Latino or Latina? I don't know how many times I gotta say it. You know how many times I've ran into Eastern Europeans while I lived in New York who are not from here, right? They know they're not here legitimately. They've overstayed their visa. They came with a family member and never left. People who have started businesses, whole damn businesses, people. I'm like, bro, you're not worried they're gonna come and deport you? Nah, we're good. Europeans, so sometimes Russian, sometimes Austrian, or like it. I mean, really, it's basically they look white. Now, I've met many people here in Miami, Venezuelans, Colombians, Brazilians even, who have never once feared that somehow they would be arrested and deported because they're of the Spaniard descent or Portuguese descent. More so, in other words, they look white. And also, these people have never had an issue qualifying for political refuge, as in political refugee status. Whereas on the other side of that fence, I know someone whose parent, like, she's white, but her father, is Negrino, which is like a little bit lighter than me, Brazilian. And he still hasn't been able to qualify for, and it's literally been her entire life. He still hasn't been able to qualify for political refuge, but she was able to. So there is absolutely some racial undertones here. If you don't think there is, then you're just playing yourself. You're I don't know what to tell you. The foreign policy aspect can't be addressed, can't be stated enough, because, like, for example, AOC today, I think it was today or yesterday, she was speaking and testifying about what she had seen taking place in these detention centers. And it was powerful, right? Things that a lot of us know, but she went to go see it for herself, and I commend her on that. The problem with AOC's testimony, in my humble opinion, is the same problem I've had for quite some time. AOC has a platform of 4.7 million Twitter followers. The moment she tweets anything, it's instant news. People do research. People create discourse about it. It is literally a topic of discussion for the entire the next 24 to 48 hours. In this particular case, it's been a week, right, that we've been talking about this. She's talked about how bad the conditions are, but we already knew that before she went, right? She talked about the fact that these people are being separated from their families. These kids are being separated from their families, but we knew that before she went, right? She's talked about a lot of things, how horrible it is. We knew that. How bad the conditions are. We knew that. So why, when it was finally time for her to speak out in front of America about what she saw and why it's occurring and what to do about it, was foreign policy not the first thing, or at least the second thing, that came out of her mouth? Because this has been bothersome for a lot of people, considering her silence on Venezuela, right? Her silence on Venezuela. Her silence on some of the things that happened in Brazil. Maybe not her alley, so cool. I can forgive her on that. The Venezuela thing was a big problem because Ilhan Omar is an African refugee. No Latin American background. Doesn't use that identity to bolster herself as a woman of color regularly. And Ilhan spoke out on Venezuela, and the most that AOC did was retweet it. And that was about it. I guess it's better than what a lot of other Democrats do. But if you're going to be a progressive champion, if you're going to bring the change, the economic, domestic change that you wish to bring, then as a person with that loud of a microphone, you have to speak about the problems if we're going to get to solutions. And let me be very clear about this. You can't be unrealistic, right? Under Trump, ICE is not getting abolished. ICE isn't getting abolished under Trump. Maybe under a progressive presidency, but not under Trump. Because I don't know if you all know this, ICE is actually a baby organization. It is very young. It's by the standards of most U.S. agencies, ICE is probably like a toddler. A little bit. Nah, at this point, maybe like elementary school. In other words, it was started under the Bush administration, but it is literally a redundancy. ICE does the job that Department of Homeland Security is supposed to do. And so instead of passing comprehensive immigration reform, we got ICE instead. So instead of, because it would greatly reduce the cost to keep immigration in check if we pass comprehensive immigration reform. But no, instead we're sending money to these local police departments in the South, no less, because that's going to turn out well. It's just very reminiscent of the days where the police were used to chase down runaway slaves, who were also called illegal people, because literally you didn't have documents. So if you didn't have documents, it's highly likely that you belonged to somebody, but you were otherized and hunted down. That's what ICE has become, a Gestapo operation. And it would be one thing if we thought they were going to be held accountable, but once again, the police aren't held accountable. A lot of these ICE officers are police officers. People dying in their custody, and no one's being held accountable. But hey, I guess a lot of these people on the right want to keep complaining and whining about how dare you call these concentration camps? Every Jewish person I know is upset about that. You're more upset about the words concentration camps, and you start scrolling through their page to look and see if they said anything about the kids that have died in their custody. They don't care about that. They don't care about that. They care about the concentration camp word, though. Isn't that weird how these social justice warriors of the right, like the Ben Shapiro's of the world, get more upset about words that offend them than they do about the lives lost from the policies that we're discussing. That's insane to me. That's like psychopathy. That's psychopathic. It is scary, honestly, that the same people who always call the left, they're full of snowflakes. They're full of snowflakes. They just can't believe the phrase concentration camps is grotesque. It is absolutely grotesque for you to say that. What about the little girl who passed away in their custody, and no one was held accountable? Well, oh man, yeah. But hey, look, we got to get them out though, right? The law is the law. That's how they are. So it gets frustrating to hear. And once again, Tulsi did a very good job at talking about this. I think, was it even before she announced? I think it was maybe right before she announced. She was like, the Democrats and the Republicans need to stop acting like children. Let's be adults. Let's sit down at the table. Let's pass comprehensive reform. Period. And somebody was like, oh, look at Tulsi pretending that it's a both sides issue. Yeah, because it is. It is. Look at Tulsi practicing whataboutism. No, she's not saying what about. She's saying both of y'all. Not what about this person, not what about that person. It's both of you all. Nancy Pelosi grandstands. Donald Trump and Mitch McConnell grandstand. Nancy Pelosi has not fought for immigrants as hard as she would like to have people believe. Donald Trump has kind of just been he's been using this issue to gaslight. People get so focused on the demonization of immigrants that he gets to skate by on the fact that he has no control over his administration, that is perpetuating a lot of the policies that have caused mass migration. So instead of focusing on foreign policy that we kind of have figured out that Trump is largely not in control of, instead of focusing on that, he gets to focus on the people. Instead of demonizing the policy, he demonizes the people. Which, if you're the president, that's what you do when you don't have control over your situation. Just saying. All right. So, what's the next topic we got? We got to be dedicated to defending Julian Assange, updating people on Julian Assange, everything you can think of, right? And they deleted the account. Twitter deleted the account. Now, this was reported by Caitlin Johnstone. Hold on, let me read the super chat real quick for everybody. Vital, Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, and many more are investing on Mexico's economy, both on the medical sector and in the technological sector. Trump is pushing Mexico on VEN. I'm not sure what VEN is, but yeah, that's not a good sign. Usually, if those people start investing in your economies, whoo, you know how that game goes, right? And so in order for them, if they're investing in their economy, it's highly likely that they're like making steps in venture capitalism to basically bet against their economy, so that when that economy crashes, those people get rich, they get to flip the properties, they get to flip the businesses, they get to invest in those businesses to prop them back up, because Mexico don't give out government bailouts like we do. So I 100% believe that. So really quick, I want to read you all this article from the one and only Caitlin Johnstone. 1 second. All right, so Caitlin Johnstone reports that one of the biggest Twitter accounts dedicated to circulating information and advocacy for WikiLeaks, or for the WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange, at Unity4J, has been completely removed from the website. The operators of the account report that they have been given no reason for its removal by the Twitter staff, and have received no response to their appeals. Any Assange supporter active on Twitter will be familiar with the Unity4J account, which originated to help boost the wildly successful Unity4J online vigils, which I participated in a lot, in which well-known Assange defenders would appear to speak out against his persecution. As of this writing, the account has been gone for a day and a half. About 8:45 Central Standard Time on Thursday, July 11th, one of our Unity4J Twitter team members went to retweet on the account and noticed that the account was no longer accessible. Surprise, surprise. Reports. This was a report from Christy Duff, one of the Assange activists, and one of the operators of the accounts as well. Now, she goes on to say that when each of us also attempted to access the account, we all received the same message: account suspended. Twitter did not send us a reason, or so it's a typo, excuse me. She said Twitter did not send us a reason for the violation or for the suspension. So an appeal was submitted. We did receive correspondence that Twitter got our request, and the case is currently open. Unfortunately, we do not have a timeline on how long it would take. Wow. Heimdall's Gate, give me a second and I will respond to that super chat in a second. But I appreciate it. So basically what's happened is it's the same thing that we've always said, right? There are some people on the left who like to discriminate when it comes to the application of freedom of speech, freedom of information, protection of the First Amendment, freedom of the press, right? There are people who like to be selective about that. In other words, when Alex Jones was suspended, my issue was that I had two issues with what happened with Alex Jones. Alex Jones was supposedly suspended for violating the community guidelines, right? Spreading fake news. Okay, then they need to outline very specifically the exact words, the exact videos, etc., 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 that Alex Jones spread fake news. I'm not saying he didn't. I'm not saying he did. That's irrelevant. What I'm saying is, it is the job of the arbiter of quote unquote punishment, okay, to figure out if they did or did not do it and show the public that we are applying these punishments consistently based off of this precedent that has been set. That's not what happened. They just like, yeah, we don't like Alex Jones anymore. That's basically what happened, right? We don't like Alex Jones anymore. Why? He spread fake news. Okay, cool. So my issue is, this is why I say you need to post up very specifically why you're doing that, because if you all recall, remember how CNN got caught lying about Russiagate, MSNBC got caught lying about several different aspects of Russiagate, NBC, New York Times. The list really goes on when we're talking about how many people, I mean, not lied a little bit, but lied a hell of a lot and got caught multiple times. Had to retract multiple articles, accounts, personal accounts from people who would spread verified lies. Never got deleted from Twitter. And if the premise of the decision to delete Alex Jones' account at that point was spreading fake news, then I got some news for you. You got a lot more accounts to delete, and a lot of them have blue check marks. But that's not what we see happening. And a lot of us, like myself, like Jimmy Dore, like Kyle Kulinski, we were like, yo, we know where this is headed. Alex Jones was the low-hanging fruit. Alex Jones was a person who could basically be attacked, and they wanted to see if they could get away with blatant censorship. We are in an age of an Obama era where he signed or passed a decision to legalize propaganda on American soil, on the American public, outside of times of war. As if it wasn't already bad enough that they could propagandize us during war. So we are in an age where it's become lawful to lie to the American public, and you want to take down Alex Jones? That's the account you want to go after? And you knew where, so we all kind of saw where this was coming, or where this was going, I should say. And then Rania Kellick, and I wanted to say she's from Newsbroke. That's what her show is called on Facebook. And not only her, but a bunch of police to police on Facebook. Oh man, Something World News, a bunch of accounts got deleted. Why? For no reason. We don't know who funds you. We couldn't verify the information that you reported. In other words, they were too big, they were too influential, and they refused to push the narrative that the establishment set up for us to follow. So we fast forward, of course, where Julian Assange WikiLeaks has a check mark still, I believe. Julian Assange had one. Then they took it away. Then they took his account away. Based off of what? Off of nothing. They took his account away. Why? Because what are you going to say, Julian, that WikiLeaks reported was wrong? You can't. What did they report that was wrong? Julian Assange and WikiLeaks specifically, they have 100% reporting record and have never had to retract a single article, a single publication, a single email. They've never had to retract anything. What did this account do? This account largely just reported on the status of Julian Assange. So why was it suspended? Of course they weren't given a reason. I've had my account suspended for no reason. Not my personal account, but the mcsc network's account was suspended and then deleted. So we had to start over. We were creeping up on about 1,200, 1,300 followers, but this was like 6 months ago. And we had basically grown from 400 to 1,200 in the span of a month. As our channel continued to grow, that Twitter got deleted. We didn't know why. And guess what? They never told us why. So what we're seeing really speaks to what Tulsi Gabbard had talked about. Joe Rogan has discussed this a lot. We need regulation over these tech companies. Right now, I mean, when you're winning presidential campaigns off of Twitter and Facebook, which we've seen Donald Trump do in 2016. We saw Bernie Sanders almost do that in 2016. Mike Gravel just won 65,000 donations off of social media. Now, if federal courts just said, not even a week ago, Trump is not allowed to block people on Twitter. That means that Twitter is now a public good. Twitter must be accessible. The people who run our country must be accessible. If you choose to create a Twitter account, then you must be allowed to have access. Unless you violate some type of actual law, of course, or a community guideline very clearly. And even then, you can't delete their account for that. Maybe you can suspend them, maybe if they're a repeat offender. But at the point where a judge is saying a president and Congress people, and basically if you're in the public eye, like on the government side, you can't block people. That is them saying people, if they choose to, must be allowed to have access to you in all forms. Why? Because the things that they are talking about are important. So that was a big clue right there. Okay, it's time to regulate this. It's time to regulate it. It's time to update antitrust laws, because this, yet again, is just another form of censorship. Now, it's going to be harder to figure out what's going on with Julian Assange. Now they're going to have to start another account and build from scratch. After Julian Assange's account got deleted wrongfully, now their account's about to get deleted. Don't be surprised if maybe you start seeing maybe Julian Assange's mother, maybe her account gets deleted too. God forbid, what if WikiLeaks' account gets deleted? And people were okay with selective censorship. Now I want to be very clear about something. There are a lot of independent journalists, quote unquote, independent journalists who were perfectly fine with trying to pretend that WikiLeaks and Russia were somehow connected. And they were perfectly fine with pushing that myth, that lie, really. And this is the result. WikiLeaks and Chelsea Manning are the reason that we found out that our people were shooting reporters from a helicopter, bruh. bona fide, verified war crimes. Without WikiLeaks, we might not have had a chance to avoid a Hillary Clinton presidency. Without WikiLeaks, we may be at war with Iran right now, because Hillary would have absolutely pulled the trigger. That day that Donald Trump said, I don't know, because of the advice of Tucker Carlson, Hillary Clinton would have said, let's blow these motherfuckers off the planet. Instead of making stretches for peace, for all the faults that Donald Trump has had, vying for peace with North Korea would have not been an option at all under Hillary Clinton. And now, because of WikiLeaks, we actually have a chance to work with North Korea and South Korea to bring peace to that region. Do you know, without WikiLeaks, I don't know if you all know this, the federal judges across the country usually picked by the administration. It's very hard to fire a judge. I think that after a certain point you get tenure. I don't know exactly how that works, but I do know that there are judges that stay long past other administrations leaving until they decide to retire. But a lot of those judges were literally Bill Clinton federal judges. And if Trump, it's such a crazy thing to say, because I know a lot of these judges are not doing the right thing. But in the case of Jeffrey Epstein, for example, Trump replacing the federal judges across the country is largely why that Jeffrey Epstein case was able to be pursued. The second one. So now you think about it. Now Trump, and some of the stuff is just completely by accident. Just things roll downhill when certain information gets exposed and things just unfold, right? If Acosta was never elevated to the labor secretary position, he would never have been forced to do all these interviews, where in one of his most recent interviews, they say, why would you only give him a year? Why would you cut him a deal like that? He said, I was told that Jeffrey Epstein is intelligence. This is the deal you are going to give him. Period, point blank. And that's it. Shut up. Don't ask him. A federal judge was told that Jeffrey Epstein was intelligence, and this is the deal you're going to give him. Period. Do you think we get that information if Acosta is never elevated to labor secretary? Because under Hillary, he would never be labor secretary. So, these are the things that WikiLeaks, being as bold and as honest as they have been, and as 100% accurate as they have been, these are the things that WikiLeaks revelations have led to. Things that we couldn't even have predicted, but because WikiLeaks has been doing the right thing so consistently, it seems that things always seem to unfold for the better, right? It seems to benefit the country. Even if it benefits us in the weirdest, most unpredictable ways, it benefits the country. And there are people who are trying to say that WikiLeaks helped rig the election on behalf of Putin. Really? Come on. Were they saying that in 2012? Whenever everybody, or 2010, in 2011 and 2012, really? Where everybody was saying that Assange is a hero? Why? They weren't saying it then, because he's exposing the Bush administration. Exposing the Bush administration, and that helped bring out, a solid victory for Obama. And not only Obama, but all the Democrats. They had the House and the Senate again. They loved him then. Not so much now, huh? Isn't that crazy? We take for granted the work that WikiLeaks has done. We take for granted all too often our free speech, freedom of press, freedom of information. And whenever somebody we don't like is affected in a negative way. Too many people get way too excited about it. They just, oh man, yeah, thank God Alex Jones is deleted. This isn't some kid not getting into Harvard. That was a heat check to see how independent media would react. And unfortunately, too many popular leftist channels sided with the big tech companies, sided with the establishment, sided with censorship. And then those same people are now reporting, oh my God, YouTube is censoring us, taking millions and millions of our views and handing them over to the mainstream. Well, what did you think was going to happen? They already told you it could be done. They can censor you in a plethora of ways. And the moment that you are complicit in someone else being censored, then of course, what do they always say? They came for this group first, they came for that group next. When they came for me, there was no one left to speak up. And that's where we're heading. If people don't start getting together, that's where we're headed. So, did a decent job, emphasis on actually I'm gonna upload it to it here. First of all, are there any super chats that I missed? I want to make sure I didn't miss any super chats. Oh yeah, Heimdall's Gate. So you asked me, what do I think about foreign aid for these countries and making it available to the people in the form of 0% interest loans. So that gets a little bit messy because most people traditionally think of that type of foreign aid as austerity. Because like it can start off at 0% interest, and then the moment that America gets irritated, the moment that our banks don't like your regime, 50% interest, 40% interest. You know what? Screw that. We're closing all your bank accounts. Like it would become a mess if we did that. It really would. So, what am I about to do? Oh yeah, go to the next topic. Shout out to my people on Periscope and Twitch as well. I see you. I see you, peeps. All right, so this is some interesting stuff that was reported by CNN Business, no less. It was about Bernie Sanders. Couldn't believe it. Not gonna lie to you. I was kind of surprised because, well, we already know CNN is mostly in the bag for Kamala. And it's CNN. They don't just dislike Bernie. They have a disdain for Bernie. They have an irrational hatred towards Bernie that nobody really understands but them, to be quite honest with you. I mean, he gives them high ratings. But, I mean, hey, they hate Trump too, so, and he gives them high ratings, so I guess it doesn't really matter. But I did want to touch on this. So, this is an article by CNN, like I said. It says the median income would soar by more than $22,000. Nearly 26 million jobs would be created, and the unemployment rate would fall by 3.8%. Do you think this article is talking about the new policies of the new presidential candidate Tom Steyer? Probably not. Probably not. You think these are the policies of Kamala and Elizabeth Warren? You know, Elizabeth Warren is the literal personification of mediocrity. So clearly, these are about her policies, right? Because centrism is the third way, and the third way is the best way, according to Third Way, right? Nope. That, ladies and gentlemen, that description is of Bernie's policies. That is what an analysis of Bernie's policies say. So let me just say this again. The median income would soar by more than 22,000. That's insane. Not the median income would raise to $22,000, people. I want to make sure you understand this. The median income per household would raise by more than 22,000. In other words, if you make 20,000 a year now, the median income for your household would be close to the lowest 42,000, 40,000 ish. 26 million real jobs would be created. The unemployment rate would fall to 3.8%. And I imagine, once again, because it's a Bernie Sanders policy, it would be the real unemployment rate, not the fake one that we get from the Trumps and the Obamas and the Bushes of the world. Hell, even the fake unemployment rates didn't help Bush, right? So that's crazy. And they don't even get to the part talking about everybody when, would have health care. They don't get to that part yet. Let's see what the article has to say. Those are just a few of the things that would happen if Bernie Sanders became president and his ambitious economic program were put into effect, according to an analysis given exclusively to CNN Money. And that was very unbiased of them to report that. Let's see if that unbiasedness continues. The first comprehensive look at the impact of all Sanders' spending and tax proposals on the economy was done by Gerald Friedman, a University of Massachusetts at Amherst economic professor. The more sweeping analysis was not commissioned by the candidate, though Sanders' policy director called it outstanding work. Friedman has worked with Sanders in the past, but has never received any compensation. The Vermont senator asked Friedman to estimate the cost of Sanders' Medicare for All plan, which came out to $13.8 trillion over 10 years, and included that in the analysis he unveiled in his proposal last month. And I believe that I remember because they were freaking out. 13.8 trillion. That's insanity over 10 years. Oh my God. Well, one, our healthcare system right now over the course of 10 years will cost more than that. Just want to be clear. But also, it would like save our economy. Like it's like 32 trillion is what it would save us. So it's something insane like that. Let's continue. Friedman, who believes in Democratic socialism, like the candidate, found that if Sanders became president and was able to push his plan through Congress, the median household income would be $82,000 by 2026. Boy, hey, sign me up. What the hell? Woo, Jesus! This man just said 82,000. Hold up, my glasses not. Let me make sure my glasses on, man. Let me zoom in a little bit here. I need to do some further inspection of my vision, because I might have just read that completely and totally wrong. Did that man just say $82,000? Oh my God, y'all. Hot damn Bojangles. Dog, 82,000 under Sanders? 82,000. 82,000? Most people that I know haven't even made 82,000 over the last 4 years of their full-time job. That's unfortunate, by the way. That shouldn't be that way. But this man is now saying that the average household, this is what Friedman reported on, the average household would have a median income of $82,000 per year. That is absolutely nuts, people. That is insane. Can you even fathom that at this point? Some of you all who are nowhere living paycheck to paycheck. Some of you all who are nowhere struggling to survive. Republican, Democrat, Independent alike. All of a sudden you'd be able to invest. You could have a savings account again. Oh my God, no. To millennials, savings account is like a foreign term. We're like, ¿qué? ¿Qué es this savings account? We don't know what that means. Bro, 82,000. You could have 2 cars for your 4-person family. Oh my God. You could even afford to pay your car payments on time. you could build your credit up, which would give you more. Oh my God. Like, yo, I'm just tripping. Like, cause listen, I grew up poor and I do okay for myself now. And I have been able to, in the last 6 or 7 months, because I finally have hit middle class, do things with 30, 40,000 less than that I was never able to do, or my mother was never able to do for me for my entire childhood. I can't even imagine what I could do with 80,000, or what the American public could do with 80,000, or what that would do for the economy. Well, apparently I don't have to imagine, because Friedman did a very good job of explaining it to us. Now, he goes on. That would be about 2026, by the way. He says, a far higher than 59,000 projected by the Congressional Budget Office. In addition, poverty would plummet to a record low 6%, as opposed to the CBO's forecast of 13.9%. The U.S. economy would grow by 5.3% per year instead of 2.1%. So in addition, by the way, so what they're saying is, in addition to income inequality being reduced, in addition to wages, living wages being more abundant, the GDP would actually increase faster, even though Sanders had those crazy socialist policies. The people would be more secure financially. The GDP actually gets better under Bernie at a faster rate. Unemployment drops under Bernie. Everybody has health care under Bernie. Calling him a socialist, I don't give a damn how many times you call that man a socialist. If this is what socialism is, and you don't like that, then you just a damn fool. I mean, unless you're a billionaire, because I understand that's going to require you to pay your fair share. And I know y'all don't want to do something like that, but you're going to have to get over it under Bernie Sanders' administration, apparently. Now, other economists, the article goes on to say, however, feel that Friedman's analysis is overly optimistic, saying it would be difficult to achieve that level of economic prosperity. Last week, the Committee for Responsible Federal Budget said Sanders' plan to pay for health care would fall short by at least $3 trillion. Huh? I don't even understand what the... Oh my God. I didn't even realize it, but can you believe there's actually a committee called the Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget? Hey, I need y'all to step into my office real quick. Sit down. We got to talk. All y'all fired. Every single one of you. A Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget. Boy, we just gave the biggest tax breaks and almost made them permanent than we have given in like the last 100 years under Trump. And y'all just was like, I'm gonna get paid, so I'm responsible. I'm responsible for myself and my family, so I'm gonna get this money and I'm gonna shut up about it. And this Committee of Financial Responsibility, of budget, federal budget responsibility, I have never heard of them. I didn't hear about them whenever Trump passed his tax break, not once but twice. Didn't hear about it whenever we were throwing bans at the Iraq War, throwing all the money money. Hey, whatever, we got it. Don't even worry about it. We'll take care of it. How you gonna pay that back? Hey, shut up. We print this shit. We're good. Didn't hear about it then. But the moment that Bernie says, let's give health care to everybody to make sure people don't do things like, once again, inconvenience their day by dying and not being able to go to a hospital because they don't have a credit card that the hospital can charge in the emergency room. Because that's the thing, by the way. That's whenever we finally get introduced to this Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget. Ain't that about everybody fired. All y'all. Every single one of you. Because that's goddamn ridiculous. Shouldn't be no reason that there's called a Committee for Federal Budget of Responsibility and you... Come on. If you know, so because if this is a committee of federal budget responsibility, if that is true, then you also know that Medicare for all is cheaper for the budget. It's cheaper for the budget. You know this. And your responsibility ass ain't come out and said nothing about that. Whenever you hear proponents of other forms of Medicare, quote unquote, Medicare for everyone who wants it, the lamest name for anything ever given in public office. You know all these things cost more money. You know that Obamacare costs more money. Trump's plan costs more money. And yet, your federally responsible budgeting ass hasn't come out and said a damn thing. But the slam Sanders, you want to come out, boy, I ain't got, oh my God, fire them. Fire all of them. Jesus Christ. But Friedman could be optimistic. If we're going to be fair, he could be optimistic. But have you heard anyone else's projections, optimistic or otherwise, come close to that? What if he's optimistic? We're only going to, the average median income goes up by 15,000 instead of 22,000. Oh God. Unemployment rate drops to 4% instead of 3.5%. Oh God. Now, I will say this, if Friedman's analysis does not account for the military-industrial complex, then it is problematic. It will become a problem. Because the military-industrial complex will make sure to try and usurp any effort that Bernie tries to put forth to bolster the pockets of the middle class. So that is something that Bernie and Mr. Friedman, with all due respect, needs to keep in mind. If you are not going to check the military-industrial complex, it will always be used as the excuse why that we can't do these things. Now, what will be even more interesting is for if the first time if Bernie, stops these quagmires, these proxy wars, if he refuses, if he disallows any attempt to manufacture consent for these wars, and he can say, hey, why aren't we doing it? The numbers add up. Well, we got to spend money on, military budget. No, we don't. Took care of that. Don't worry about it, homie. We put all them people back. They right here at home. A lot cheaper to take care of them here than over there. We're not trying to pay off these, rebel groups to overthrow governments. We got plenty of money, man. So we're good. What's going on? What's going on with the money? What's going on? What's going on with Medicare? I need that bill passed. If money was your only issue, I need that bill passed. That's what could happen if we rein in that military-industrial complex. Black Leadership Analysis, great channel. Thank you. I appreciate that. I sincerely appreciate it. So shout out to Bernie and shout out to Friedman. And I do want to give honest, shout out to CNN for providing, for once, an honest article with an objective analysis of Bernie's policies and what it could possibly do for the American people. That's a rare thing from them. And so, hey, we'll take what we can get, right? So this story is going to take a little bit longer to cover for a plethora of reasons. Because it's important, I want to make sure we break it down appropriately. Today, give me a second, I'm going to pull it up. Today, we are going to talk about the fake Seth Rich story that was planted by Yahoo News. Yeah. Got to. Because it's some bull. It's some BS. It's some nonsense. And you all know it. We know it. So, the Yahoo, this is what the title says. The true origins of the Seth Rich conspiracy theory. A Yahoo News investigation. Because everybody knows that Yahoo has always been known for its investigative reporting. It's a great way to start off an article. So the article says, in the summer of 2016, oh man, whew, Jesus Christ, this is how it starts. Ugh, sorry. We're gonna do this again. The article starts off. In the summer of 2016, Russian intelligence agents secretly planted a fake report claiming that the Democratic National Committee staffer was gunned down by a squad of assassins working for Hillary Clinton, giving rise to the notorious conspiracy theory that captivated conservative activists and was later promoted inside of President Trump's White House, a Yahoo News investigation has found. Bruh. The first time I read that line, my head almost spun from that first line. Who said Hillary Clinton personally hired a group of assassins? Nobody said that. That's not what we said. Nobody said that. I don't think people on the right said that. Like, not anybody who's taken seriously on the right. A group of assassins, and then it says, oh no, not a squad of assassins. And it was a fake report apparently. They don't link the report though. They actually don't link the report. They said there was a fake report that was put out, and that Russian intelligence agents put the report out. They don't link the report though, and then go on to say that it was captivated by conservative activists, as if the people who brought the Seth Rich story to light weren't progressives. Like this wasn't an issue of that progressives were concerned with, because as you all know, or if you don't know, you should know, Seth Rich wasn't a Trump supporter. Seth Rich wasn't necessarily a Hillary Clinton hater. Seth Rich was a Bernie Sanders supporter. Seth Rich was an unapologetic progressive. We wanted to get down to the solution of his murder, which, by the way, you should always probably want to get down to the solution of anybody's murder, but this was made so public that we wanted to get down to the solution of his murder because he was a progressive comrade. And the circumstances around his death were extremely suspicious. But this is what they do. All the buzzwords: Russian intelligence agents, fake report, Trump, right-wing activists, conspiracy theory. How many buzzwords can you fit into a single sentence? Good God almighty. This is, once again, I said in the beginning, though, disclaimer, Yahoo News isn't really known for their investigative reporting, and this is just a reminder of that. So, by the way, share this if you have not shared it, because we're going to get a little bit deep with here. We're going to get a little bit deep. So, the article goes on to say, Russia's Foreign Intelligence Service, known as SVR, first circulated a phony bulletin disguised to read as an intelligence report. Huh? A bulletin that was disguised to read as an intelligence report. Okay. About the alleged murder of the DNC staffer on July 13th, 2016, according to the U.S. federal prosecutor who was in charge of Rich's case. Man, listen. So if you ever want an illustrious career in politics, if you ever want to get away with something corrupt, you ever want to steal an election, you ever want to, you say you get a bunch of information leaked on you, like Joyanne Reed did, or Hillary, make sure to know that all you have to do is say, well, you can't blame me because Russia. Come on. Russia, right? Am I right? Because when I did it, I wrote the emails. I did rig the election, but Russia, right? If it wasn't for Russia, I wouldn't have even really had to do any of that stuff. And even if Russia wasn't involved, they may have been. We can't say for sure one way or the other. So we should just assume really that they did it. Because who's going to disagree with me? Because it's Russia. That's basically what we're learning. Or what you should have learned since 2016. And this is just reaffirming that. So it goes on to say that that was just 3 days after Rich, 27, was killed in what police believe was a botched robbery while walking home to his group house in the Bloomingdale neighborhood of Washington, D.C., 30 blocks north of the Capitol. Now, I'm going to be very clear about something. That's actually not true. It was not true. It wasn't. What was actually said by the police chief, the former police chief, was that there was absolutely no evidence that suggested it was a botched robbery. She doesn't know who was reporting that. She said that in a press conference, and of course, 5 weeks later, she was forced to retire. Isn't that interesting? In the middle of one of the biggest cases, probably in this particular police chief's career, you retire? After making a statement that was that bold? And by the way, when she made that statement, she was irritable. She was tired. She was exhausted from just hearing the lies that were being perpetuated. And in that press conference, she just made it very clear. It's not a botched robbery. You don't shoot somebody in the back and leave everything that they had on them in a botched robbery. It's ludicrous. That is literally a conspiracy. The idea that they try, the stigma of a conspiracy theory, the idea that they try and codify conspiracy theories around, which is like made up hoopla, made up nonsense that makes no real sense, with fallacious connections. That is literally that botched robbery idea. Think about this. They're trying to, hold on, let me drink some of my coffee. They are trying to convince an entire country, yes, Russia had this secret plan to use the murder of one staffer to convince the country that Hillary Clinton hired a hit squad personally to kill Seth Rich. But instead, they also try and push the conspiracy theory simultaneously that it was merely a botched robbery. And the moment that you ask for any type of precedent that says that this circumstance, the circumstances that Seth Rich was murdered under, that this has been consistent with what you've known to see botched robberies look like. No one. Actually, no, we don't even get an answer for that. When we say maybe y'all should investigate this more. Oh, look at them Seth Rich conspiracy theorists. Look at those Seth Rich conspiracy theorists. Hold on, we just said shouldn't you do your job? Don't y'all have a whole forensics unit? You know, I don't watch CSI, but like, that's kind of, I think, I get the gist of the show though. You have a whole unit dedicated to finding stuff like this, to investigate. And I think that by us asking for an investigation, a thorough one that is open to the public, as long as it is, of course, does not damage the chances of you solving that investigation. The moment that we ask for that investigation, everybody's conspiracy theorists. You're a Seth Rich truther. Yeah, we would like to know the truth about a murder investigation. I think that that's a pretty reasonable request by all standards. How dare you? And isn't this crazy, bruh? They got the nerve to say, Yahoo News investigated this story, right? And apparently, they started investigating this for quite some time. So y'all got the nerve to report on the last 3 years of conspiracies about how Russia planned a story about Seth Rich. Y'all got the time to do that. But y'all ain't have the time to go up to the police, to go to the federal jurisdictions, FBI, and say, hey, if you don't mind, while we're doing this investigation, do you mind concluding at any point the investigation on Seth Rich? Like, shouldn't that be kind of a priority? We would love to figure out what the actual conclusion is and report it in detail for this report. No, but instead, they take 3 years to report nonsense without ever once pressing the authorities to say, maybe y'all should do some investigating too, since we doing some investigation. Nah. Once again, like I said, disclaimer from the beginning, Yahoo News is not known for its investigative reporting. So, it goes on to say, and this is a quote, to me, having a foreign intelligence agency set up one of my dissidents with lies and planting false stories, to me that's pretty outrageous, said Deborah Sines, the former assistant U.S. attorney in charge of the Rich case until her retirement last year. Maybe other people don't think that it's outrageous. I did. Once it became clear to me that this was coming from the SVR, then that triggers a lot of very serious questions about, like, what do I do with this? How did it become clear? I'm confused. How? That's weird. You hear that a lot of claims here. A lot of claims, didn't really address them. Still didn't even link this supposed phony report that the Russians planted that convinced everybody. How are you going to plant a phony report that supposedly convinced everybody when no one has any recollection of what this report that brainwashed all those conservatives, apparently? Nobody has any recollection of what that report says. I don't have any recollection of reading that report. So what the fuck are they talking about? Why not link it in the article? Why not link it if it was phony? You know why. Because it don't exist. Let's continue. The previous unreported role of Russian intelligence in creating and fostering one of the most insidious conspiracy theories to arise out of the 2016 election is disclosed in the Yahoo News Presents, a 6-part series by the news organization's podcast Skullduggery that debuts this week on the 3rd anniversary of Rich's murder. What a surprise. Mainstream media cashing in on an unsolved, uninvestigated murder and using that to not only profit, but to spin a narrative that anyone who asks for an investigation is a conspiracy theorist. And to then, once again, use that to increase the likelihood that us and Russia never mend relations and increase the likelihood of us entering into a nuclear holocaust. Because that little tidbit always decides to get left out of these conversations. It's disgusting. It's utterly disgusting. The Russian effort to exploit Rich's tragic death didn't stop with the fake SVR bulletin. No. Over the course of the next 2.5 years, the Russian government-owned media organizations RT and Sputnik, how did I know that was going to come up, repeatedly played up stories that baselessly allege a relatively junior level staffer was the source of the Democratic Party emails that had been leaked to WikiLeaks. It was an idea that first floated around by WikiLeaks Julian Assange, who on August 9th announced $20,000 for a reward for the information about Rich's murder, saying somewhat cryptically, our sources take risks. Did you hear that, y'all? RT and Sputnik now. Because of RT doing some journalism, as we like to call it. Remember how they, for how long did they say RT is lying? RT supports Trump. That's why, they're Russian based. People like Lee Camp, for example, Garland Nixon, Lee Stranahan, Naomi Caravani of Redacted Tonight. I mean, the list really does go on. Jesse Ventura, Jimmy Dore, who's frequently went on RT, Ben Swan, literally some of the best investigative reporters, the best journalists that I know, the best journalists that you know. People who have worked in law enforcement. Garland worked in law enforcement as an investigator. All these people who had been saying for quite some time, that y'all know this Russia collusion shit is bullshit. They've been saying that. They called them conspiracy theorists. They attacked them. They called them conspiracy theorists. They attacked them some more. They called them conspiracy theorists. Attacked them some more. Then they called them a conspiracy theorist one more time. And then Mueller's report dropped. No collusion. Forgetting, a lot of people do tend to forget that a lot of the hysteria, the Trump spinoff was initiated at the DNC convention, maybe like a day or so before that. And the spinoff for Trump, it became clear for everyone that the entire thing was BS, because the spinoff for Trump was what made it obvious. It's like, okay, they're about to use this on everybody, aren't they? The moment that they don't get their way, the moment it looked like Hillary Clinton was about to lose, Russia wants Trump to win. By the way, did you know that? Okay. The moment that Jill Stein opens up lawsuits across the nation to hold both parties accountable for election rigging. Oh, by the way, Russia likes Jill Stein too. Look at that picture. Her sitting beside Putin. Clearly, she's a Russian asset. Okay, so basically. Oh, then they helped Bernie Sanders, right? Remember that's what that indictment came out and said. Then it was as of recently. Oh, Russia wants Tulsi Gabbard to win because she's a Russian asset also. They literally talking about an intelligence community planting a fake story to cause fake hysteria for a particular political party. An intelligence agency did do that, and their name is the CIA. They're the ones who did all that. Everything that they're claiming was done by Russia in this particular article, that is actually what the CIA did. Okay? And to be quite honest, unsuccessfully so. Trump is probably more popular amongst his hardcore base than he has ever been. Right? Denying this is not going to help anything. It's futile. It's true. It's unfortunate, but it's still true. They made a victim out of him. Instead of going after him on things like the economy, on foreign policy, they went after a lie. Why? Because they benefited. Those Democrats love those tax breaks. And the foreign policy, well, hell, he's actually kind of better than a lot of them on foreign policy. So instead of going after him on these things, they want to go after lies, manufacture lies. Why? Because you couldn't beat them. Also, Russia was becoming a problem for our country in many ways. Economically, has nothing to do with you and I. Putin doesn't want us dead. I'm absolutely sure of it. If he wanted to kill innocent Americans, he could have been done that. We've killed plenty of innocent people, and multiple leaders who are supposedly dictators, supposedly psychopathic, supposedly mass murderers, still have not killed, they've not shed one drop of innocent American blood. So these are all lies. Almost everything except for the dates. And a couple of those dates are lies. Almost everything in that story except for the dates were lies. Okay? Now I'm explaining you why. So there's always this article I like referring to that from Zero Hedge. But before we get into that, I want to show you the video that they're talking about, where they kind of brush that. They kind of just brush through that part, like, this is kind of an important thing that we should talk about, but it's not that important. Where Julian Assange. Well, look, I'll just let Julian tell you. Hold on, let me get put my headset in. I want to hear it too.
Whistleblowers go to significant efforts to get us material and often very significant risks. There's a 27-year-old works for the DNC who was shot in the back, murdered just 2 weeks ago for unknown reasons as he was walking down the street in Washington. So
that was just a robbery, I believe, wasn't it?
No, there's no finding. So
what are you suggesting? What are you suggesting?
I'm suggesting that our sources take risks, and they become concerned to see things occurring like that.
But was he one of your sources then? I mean,
we don't comment on who our sources are.
But why make the suggestion about a young guy being shot in the streets of Washington?
Because we have to understand how high the stakes are in the United States, and that our sources are, our sources face serious risks. That's why they come to us, so we can protect their anonymity.
Okay, did y'all hear that? Did you hear that? Because I know a lot of people have not seen that video before. But by the way, if you have not shared this video, because we're about to be debunking, we're doing a little bit of debunking right now. A lot of people have not seen that video. It's crazy to me, but a lot of people have not. Did you hear that though? We're gonna play it again. I need to stress the importance of what y'all just heard.
Whistleblowers go to significant efforts to get us material and often very significant risks. There's a 27-year-old works for the DNC who was shot in the back, murdered just 2 weeks ago for unknown reasons as he was walking down the street in Washington. So
that was just a robbery, I believe, wasn't it?
No, there's no finding. So
what are you suggesting? What are you suggesting?
I'm suggesting that our sources take risks, and they become concerned to see things occurring like that.
But was he one of your sources then? I mean,
we don't comment on who our sources are.
But why make the suggestion about a young guy being shot in the streets of Washington?
So I want to be clear about something. If you saw that, if you want, I can do it again so you can see it again. In a weird, it was crazy, but he did it when he said, are you suggesting, and I wish I could zoom in a little bit, maybe I can. I'm gonna try to zoom in a little bit. When he says, are you suggesting, are you one of the sources, or that Seth Rich is one of the sources? This is what Julian Assange, he does this. He nods. I don't know if it was a Freudian slip, I don't know what it was, but he nods. So I'm gonna see it again, because y'all need to see this if you have not.
Whistleblowers go to significant efforts to get us material and often very significant risks. There's a 27-year-old works for the DNC who was shot in the back, murdered just 2 weeks ago for unknown reasons as he was walking down the street in Washington. So
that was just a robbery, I believe, wasn't it?
No, there's no finding. So
he shook his head when he said
what are you
no.
Suggesting?
I'm suggesting that our sources take risks, and they become concerned to see things occurring like that.
But was he one of your sources? I mean,
and he nodded.
Don't comment on who our sources are.
You see it when he said, is that one of your sources? He said, now let's be very clear about something. Do we know for 100% of a fact that that's true? We don't. Although one of the former ambassadors from Great Britain actually broke down in great detail how he got information from other sources in America, and was explaining. He actually came out and said, and it was like a special. So he said only because it's a special circumstance, and he's already passed away. Do we just dismiss it because they don't like Julian Assange? Do we just dismiss that WikiLeaks put up money to get Seth Rich's to catch his killer? Nah, I don't think so. I think that's grossly irresponsible to do something like that. I think when you hear something like that, the first thing as an investigator, as a person who has been on an investigative team in the military, that's when you start going into, okay, we need to start looking into this more. Not coming up with reasons as to why we shouldn't be looking more into this. I think you all probably would agree, right? So, at that point, you got to start asking more questions. Not to mention the timeline of events and things like that took place that is outlined here in this Zero Hedge article. Now, the article says that as rumors swirl that Special Counsel Mueller is preparing a case against Russians who are alleged to have hacked the Democrats during the 2016 election, a conclusion based solely on the analysis of the cybersecurity firm CrowdStrike, a Friday op-ed in the Washington in the Washington Times by retired U.S. Navy Admiral James A. Lyons Jr. asked a simple yet monumentally significant question: why haven't congressional investigators or the special counsel addressed the murder of the DNC staffer Seth Rich, who multiple people have claimed was the WikiLeaks source of the emails leaked during the 2016 U.S. presidential election? Once again, he wasn't the only person who's asked this question. So, if we're being honest, he was not the only one to ask this question. So, goes on to say that Mueller has been incredibly thorough in his ongoing investigations. However, he won't even respond to Kim.com. And this was a big clue for everybody paying attention. Kim.com, for those of you who don't know, is the one who is responsible for creating the website Mega Upload. And was very close to Julian Assange as far as his relationship when it comes to like the internet party and things like that. Now, it says here that clearly, and I'll explain why in a second, Kim.com knew about the hacked emails long before they were actually released, and claims that Seth Rich obtained them with a memory stick, and has offered to provide proof to the special counsel for investigation. Now, on Twitter, Kim.com said ever so clearly, and I remember because I actually covered this. This is in 2018, February. And he actually said this more than once. It wasn't only in 2018 that he said this. But he said, "Let me assure you, the DNC hack wasn't even a hack. It was an insider with a memory stick. I know this because I know who did it and why. Special Counsel Mueller is not interested in my evidence, not speculation, not anecdotes, but evidence. Hardcore proof. My lawyers wrote to him twice, and he never replied." So, how are you a special counsel that's tasked out with investigating all things Russiagate, all things DNC hacked emails? Someone tells you, hey, I can literally end your investigation today if you want, and you don't get a response. But then at the same time, This is the same federal government that has like indictments out for Kim.com. So you would expect that the lawyers for Kim.com's team would hear something from federal investigators where they could work out some type of deal, some type of bargain to get down to the bottom of the investigation. Oh, but that would be under the assumption that they wanted to get down to the bottom of the investigation, and Robert Mueller didn't already know that the entire Russiagate narrative was BS. Okay? So there's that. So we now know, if you did not know, and by the way, Kim.com posted, in case you want to look this up for yourself, on March 1st, 2018, reminder, after he had tweeted earlier in February, here's the first letter my lawyers wrote to Special Counsel Mueller regarding Seth Rich. We never received any reply. It's astonishing considering my first-hand knowledge of the DNC leak. So here's what's even more interesting about this. What did that Yahoo investigative piece just say? Oh, 3 days after the murder of Seth Rich, there was supposedly a federal investigator put on the case. So you have 2 federal investigations, really 3 if you include Kim.com's, that could potentially be solved by one person's evidence, or at least tie up a lot of loose ends. And you don't respond back? And then the man posts it on Twitter. Hey, he's atting the president. It's not like Kim.com is small cookies, people. This man is somebody, okay? And they know him. Kim.com tweets, they're paying attention to everything he says, everything he does. They're literally paying attention to his every move because they want him here. They want him in a lot of Western countries. And yet you don't respond to his attorneys when he's saying, I have evidence that could at least give you a lot of headway in 3 federal cases. No, 4 if you're including Julian Assange. That's 4 cases. But nah, we're not going to respond, no. We're going to keep lobbing allegations. We're going to keep allowing the mainstream media to report based off of speculation. How many times did you see the fact that Kim.com says, I have evidence that can knock the whole Russiagate case right open? How many times do you see that reported by the mainstream that supposedly cares so much about Seth Rich, right? They care so much about Andrew or Chris Cuomo. How dare you? How dare you make up conspiracy theories about this murder? Bro, we just said, can you look at the evidence that people are literally trying to hand to you? Can you do an investigation, the most basic levels of investigating, before you try and draw some conclusion and call everybody a conspiracy theorist? The fact that you immediately went to calling everybody a conspiracy theorist is what's really weird about the whole situation. That's what the problem is. Maybe if you presented an investigation to us rather than presented us with platitudes about conspiracy theories and the family, how much the family doesn't want us to investigate this, except for the family was the one who hired a special investigator to investigate this because they felt the same way that the people did. Yeah. So the article goes on by the way with the honorable mention of Michael Tracy. Says there was some odd facts surrounding the murder of Seth Rich. And this is still a quote by that the gentleman who asked why there isn't a federal investigation of Seth Rich, why it isn't ongoing. In a quote, the facts that we know in the murder of the DNC staffer was that he was gunned down blocks from his home on July 10, 2016. Washington Metro Police detectives claimed Mr. Rich was a robbery victim, which is strange since after being shot twice in the back, he was still wearing a $2,000 gold necklace and a watch. He still had his wallet, his key, and his phone. Clearly, he was not the victim of a robbery, and anybody with any common sense would probably conclude the same thing. Another unexplained fact muddying the Rich case is that of the stolen 40 caliber Glock 22 handgun stolen from an FBI agent's car the same day Rich was murdered. The DC Metro Police said that the theft occurred between 5 and 7 a.m., while the FBI said 2 weeks later that the theft had occurred between midnight and 2 a.m., fueling speculation that the FBI gun was used in Rich's murder. That part is completely speculative. Furthermore, 2 men working with Rich's family, private investigator and former DC police detective Rod Wheeler and a family acquaintance Ed Batowski, have previously stated that Rich had contacts with WikiLeaks before his death. According to Ed Batowski, an acquaintance of the family, in his discussions with Joel and Mary Rich, they confirmed that their son transmitted DNC emails to WikiLeaks, writes Lyons. Now, Ed Batowski is one thing. Rod Wheeler, a professional investigator who was hired by the Seth Rich family, by the way, on the news saying something is completely different. Ed Batowski, okay, cool. Rod Wheeler, whole different situation. And this is why. Once again, while Wheeler initially, remember this story? I don't know if I remember. This is a crazy story. It like blew the lid off this entire thing. While Wheeler initially told TV station Fox 5 that proof of Seth Rich's contact with WikiLeaks lies on the murdered IT staffer's laptop, he later walked the claim back, though he maintained that there was some communication between Seth Rich and WikiLeaks. Wheeler claimed also in recently leaked audio that Seth Rich's brother, Aaron, a Northrop Grumman employee, blocked him from looking at Seth's computer and stonewalled his investigation. Although, as we all know, the family hired Rod Wheeler to do this investigation. Wheeler said that the brother, Aaron Rich, tried to block Wheeler from looking at Seth's computer, even though there could be evidence in it. He said no. He said, I have his computer, meaning Aaron. Wheeler said, I said, well, can I look at it? He said, what are you looking at it for? I said, anything that could indicate if Seth was having problems with someone. He said, no, already checked it. Don't worry about it. Aaron also blocked Wheeler from finding out about who was at a party Seth attended that night of the murder. All I want you to do is work on the botched robbery theory, and that's it, Aaron told Wheeler. Except for Aaron was not the one that hired, once again, the family. He wasn't the one that hired them. They raised money, the family raised money, and then the family got Rod Wheeler. Rod Wheeler actually was, based off of everything we know and all of his comments, he was never there to investigate the botched robbery. It was because nobody believed in the theory of the botched robbery. That's why he was hired. If they thought that the DC Metro Police Department was doing a good job and was investigating this thoroughly, then they wouldn't have had to hire Rod Wheeler to begin with. Just saying. So, perhaps, the article goes on to say, perhaps the most stunning evidence, however, comes from leaked audio of a recorded conversation between Ed Batowski and Pulitzer Prize winning investigative journalist Seymour Hersh, who told him of a purported FBI report that established Seth Rich sent emails to WikiLeaks. I don't have the audio, but I'm going to post this link in the description after, right? So I'm going to re-upload this, and you can get it from there. Now, I urge everybody to read this article. It's crazy. So this is just a piece of the audio that's been transcribed. It says, what the report says is that sometime in late spring, he makes contact with WikiLeaks. That's in his computer, he says. Seymour Hersh says. Anyway, They found what he had done is that he submitted a series of documents, of emails, of juicy emails from the DNC. Seymour Hersh said this. Pulitzer Prize winning journalist whose entire career, especially with the news that he has broken, like us shipping weapons from Libya to Syria, chemical weapons from Libya to Syria. That's the type of stuff he's broken. His credibility is completely on the line. And he's saying this with utmost confidence, by the way. Once again, I'll link the article. You can listen to the audio yourself. Hersh explains that sorry, my computer started playing music. Hersh explains that it was unclear how the negotiations went, but that WikiLeaks did obtain access to a password-protected job box where Rich had put the files. All I know is that he offered a sample, an extensive sample. I'm not sure, dozens of emails, and said, box. He said they got access to that drop box. Hersh also states that Rich had concerns about something happening to him. The word was passed. This is Hersh's words, by the way. According to the NSA report, he also shared this Dropbox with a couple of friends so that if anything happens to me, it's not going to solve your problems, he added. WikiLeaks got access before he was killed. Those aren't my words. Those are words from a Pulitzer Prize winning journalist. A journalist much more esteemed and much more reputable than myself. Thanks for the super chats, everybody. I hope I didn't miss anybody. I apologize if I did. But yeah. So that's from a journalist that's much more esteemed and much more reputable than myself. It gets crazier though, because Seymour Hersh also lets us know a little bit something about where these conspiracies may have originated. The article goes on to talk about Brennan. Yeah, you all know Brennan. And the Russian disinformation. Hersh also told Butowski that the DNC made up the Russian hacking theory as a disinformation campaign, directly pointing a finger at former CIA director and now MSNBC and NBC contributor John Brennan as the architect of this disinformation campaign. Woo! Oh yeah. I have a narrative of how that whole effing thing began. It's a Brennan operation. It was an American disinformation. It was American disinformation, and the effing president at one point, they even started telling the press. They were backfeeding the press. The head of the NSA was going and telling the press, yo. He goes on to further explain how he knows that it was John Brennan. Once again, this is Seymour Hersh. This isn't Niko. Anything that we could understand. Okay? Who has historically never had to retract an article, very similar to WikiLeaks. Never had to retract a statement. Never claimed these statements were untrue either. So, does this mean that the evidence is conclusive one way or the other as far as the Seth Rich investigation is concerned? No, not necessarily. But what it does conclude is that there are plenty of people to ask questions that were never asked questions. There's plenty of evidence to look into that was never looked into. there are plenty of reports and updates about this investigation that should have come out that have never released. Plenty of breaking news that was never broken by the mainstream. And when they finally do decide to come out and break news about Seth Rich, it's to convince you that it's a right-wing conspiracy. It's to convince you that it's a Russian conspiracy, that it was only ever perpetuated by crazy conspiracy theorists on the right. Those are all lies. And the biggest lie of them all is the lie where they try and pretend like they give a damn about Seth Rich, what happened to him, or what happened to his, or what his family is going through. Those are all lies. They don't care. Let's be clear about that. So, and I could really go on for days, really, about the Seth Rich investigation. If anybody has any questions for me, I would be more than happy to answer them. But I could go on for days about the Seth Rich investigation. But I just wanted to give you all, just because they revived it, a brief overview of why everything they're saying is bullshit. Because it is. I don't like. They tell a lie. Like, the article opens up with lies. And so it's about time. Once again, I know here I'm on this channel, I'm preaching to the choir. I know. But even still, it's about time we started being unafraid to call spade a spade. There's absolutely nothing wrong with demanding an investigation, a real one, a public one. We are finding out with this Jeffrey Epstein case that elites are literally flying to islands to have orgies with underage women. Okay? We just found out that Acosta was told he will absolutely give Jeffrey Epstein the deal that he was told to give him. And he will do it because Jeffrey Epstein is supposedly intelligent and it is above Acosta's pay grade as a federal judge. So in a world where these things are possible, why are we not turning over every single stone to observe all possible angles of this Seth Rich investigation? His potential connection to WikiLeaks, which ultimately will help us solve the Russiagate investigation. Why are we not? Why is it weird? Why is this made such a popular story to slam people who ask for this? It's a real question. And the answer is clear. The mainstream is full of shit. Those are the facts. Whether or not some people want to accept them or not, those are still the facts nonetheless. We have to be bold in our vigilance for truth. You know, we obviously use common sense. But don't ever be afraid to ask for an investigation or demand an no, don't even ask. Demand an investigation. Because if we would have demanded an actual investigation into the chemical attacks in Syria, what we would have found out earlier, before we launched those strikes on Syria, that the chemical weapons attack, according to the leaks from the OPCW, were in fact fake. That those bodies were planted there, that those shells were planted there, and the Syrian government had absolutely nothing to do with it. That's the type of information you can find out if you demand an investigation and one is carried out thoroughly. So, with that being said, people, thank you all for sticking around for so long. We're going to, like I said, I'll post the links to all these things in the respective descriptions after I break the videos down for you. Don't forget to check out our mcsc podcast, which you can find the link in the description as well. Or if you have Podbean or your iTunes, you can just look my name up. Mikasa Sukasa with Niko House. Find us on Twitch. Like I said, if you have a Twitch account, make sure you follow me there, because that way you can be guaranteed that Twitch is way better at giving out notifications. Shout out to all my Twitch people. If you're live with me right now, shout out to everybody on YouTube. Shout out to everybody on Periscope. Thanks for sticking around. If you have not yet, consider becoming a patron on our Patreon. You can become a patron for as little as $1. Literally that little. Like, it's not that much. To make sure that these hard-hitting hot takes continue to come. Remember, like Kyle Klinsky has reported, like we've reported, like several other YouTubers have reported, our revenue, like many others, have been cut in half because we're being demonetized every video. I mentioned Tulsi Gabbard in the title. Demonetized. Thanks for the super chat, Triana. Much love. Yeah, but we've been demonetized across. If I mention Ilhan Omar's name in the title, demonetized. Nancy Pelosi's name in the title, demonetized. Tulsi Gabbard's name in the title, demonetized. If I critique the establishment, demonetized. Hundreds of thousands of views get demonetized weekly for us because of and then they're giving all that funding, by the way, to the mainstream channels, all those views even to the mainstream channels. So to help us continue to do this at a high level, to make sure that not only us but other YouTubers make sure that we can pay the bills, please consider becoming a contributor on our Patreon, because $1, $2, $3 from 300, 400 people, that adds up. It adds up, and it helps out tremendously. You have no idea. Literally helped a member of our team at the MCSC family pay their rent this month. Not even joking. It's not an exaggeration. That's how important that is to making sure. And because they didn't have to worry about their rent anymore, they were able to handle business. So, Hondo's gay. Vox called Tulsi the alt-right progressive. Wow. Oh man, that's a different conversation for a different day. They're just ludicrous. Alt-right? How is Tulsi alt-right? She calling out Trump and Putin and Saudi Arabia and the Democrats and the Republicans. That's how you become. That's an alt-right. I don't want to look. Whew, Jesus. Speaking of which, make sure you go donate to Tulsi. She's at like 98,000 donors, yo. She's getting like 1,200, 1,300 donors a day. If you have not yet, make sure that you go donate to Tulsi. Just get her on that debate stage. 130,000 donors, and she will qualify for that third debate. And I know you want to see her there. I know you do. Woo! And shout out once again to Mike Gravel, who qualified for the debate stage yesterday. But they, obviously, funny business is kind of the DNC's middle name, so we want to make sure there is no funny business. And but officially and technically, he did qualify for the debate stage. So congratulations to those people. Y'all have been running and have run a fantastic campaign and are absolutely serving as an inspiration to a lot of us. And with that being said, people, always remember, more than anything else, find your balance. Peace.